It's almost like I was hypnotized. Like, I know you're about to shoot. I'm trying to time when you do it, so I can try to hit you with this uppercut. And then, then I think I just got to the point where I was just kind of waiting on him to shoot. And then in fighting, you wait too long. You might get the shot, but you might get some right hands, you might get a kick, you might get something else. And then I just really never got in the rhythm. And in a fight, especially one with this caliber, you want to kind of set the precedence early.
Hey, Tyron.
What's up, man?
You had mentioned 185 a few times leading up to this fight. Is that at all a possibility, or are you focused on staying?
Man, I gotta get that belt back first. I can't leave my division like that. I gotta go back and get my belt back, and then from that point, I will come to 185 and try to grab that belt. But right now, that's what's confusing. I had this whole game plan about beating this guy, beating Kobe, going to get the 85-pound belt, defending her, and then sitting down and saying what the hell is next. So now, a detour. I gotta go get my belt back. Probably, defend it again, because I can't assume if I beat Usman that a rematch wouldn't go for it. So I'll probably have to fight that division a couple times before I try to go up and grab the other belt.
And left to me, the fight before yours was Ben's fight, and it was kind of crazy and wild.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that before your fight.
Yeah, I can't watch my friends fight before, so I seem to get hit with a couple shots and I just turn to the side because I don't want my emotions to get involved with it. But it looked like he had a choke, right? And the referee thought Robbie was out, but he wasn't out. Is that true? What happened?
He said he wasn't out, but I don't know.
It looked like it, but
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I talked to Robbie a little bit afterwards, so.
Nice.
You good? All right, appreciate you.
Robbie, you definitely handled yourself with class after what happened there, but can you just give us an idea of kind of what your emotion is after what looked to be a pretty controversial ending?
I mean, shit happens in there. Sometimes there's mistakes being made. Herb checked on me, and when he checked on me, I gave him the thumbs up, and he came in there. I couldn't hear him talking because of how the choke was on. My head was on his body on this side, and his arm was over here, so I couldn't hear him talking. And I'm not going to just dangle a hand there, so I just put it down, and then when he checked, I gave him the thumbs up and looked right at him. I was like, hey, man, fuck, I'm good. I mean, it happens. I mean, he's a hell of a ref. He just made a mistake.
Any talk to the commission or to him or, ask, I think replay could have been a possibility here about why maybe more steps weren't taken?
Yeah, I don't make excuses. I just kind of like roll with the punches and try to be positive about the situation. I mean, I'd like to run it back. I mean, it is what it is, but I just don't like making excuses, even if if stuff like that happens, whatever.
Before that madness, you almost ended the fight yourself. Give us an idea. Did you think it could have or maybe should have been stopped when you were wailing on him?
It was. I got to go back and watch it, but I guess I slammed him pretty hard and hit him with some big shots that I felt like he was hurt pretty bad. He battled back. It was good, but whatever.
Last thing for me, I think we'd all be down for a rematch, but will you appeal? That's not making excuses. Would you at least see if by chance they might look at it? Is that not a Robbie Lawler thing?
It's not really my thing, but I have handlers who will kind of do that kind of shit for me. So I just, stuff happens in life. People make mistakes, and I'm not one to whine about shit.
Hey, Robbie, from an outsider's perspective, it's hard to tell how tight the choke actually was. You said, one half of your head was kind of on his body. So did he just have the choke on the one side, or was it fully locked in? Did you feel something blacking out?
I wasn't choking because I was actually thinking I could just pick him up and slam him. But he was squeezing so damn hard, it was like, just let him burn out his arms. Like, if you go back, at least that's what it felt like to me. I don't know how it looked on TV, but it felt like he was just wasting energy squeezing me when I wasn't getting choked. So I just sat there, and guess I should have done the thumbs up a little earlier or something.
So you weren't close to going out whatsoever?
No.
Okay.
Hi, Robbie. Just curious, how close did you think you were to getting a finish in that opening sequence?
He was beat up pretty bad. I don't really pay much attention. I was just going to keep beating on the guy, and he figured a way. Herb didn't stop it, but I hit him with some good shots and beat him up pretty good. The slam was pretty rough. At least it felt like it was rough, like the way I kind of flung him or whatever. But I was landing big shots and landed an elbow, cut him up pretty bad. It is what it is.
And considering that you did come out the fight relatively unscathed, are you looking to jump back in pretty quickly?
I'm ready to get back to my family and spend some time, maybe go on a vacation. But I'm going to get back to work on Monday and just start building. I like to run it back. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure what my Dave Martin's going to do and then what Dana thinks and what the commission thinks. But I'd like to run it back and do it again.
One of the biggest questions that people had going into this was, would you be able to defend Askren's wrestling? And it looked like you did it with relative ease. Did you even surprise yourself? We know you're a good wrestler and you have good takedown defense, but it just looked like you handled that very well.
I have really good training partners. Kami Barzini's been working on my wrestling ever since I came down to Florida. Greg Jones has been sharpening my skills, and obviously Logan Storley, one of my main training partners, has been working out with me. I can wrestle, and the more I do it, the better I get, and I'm stronger than hell right now, really strong, so that helps in all those positions. And my strength and conditioning coach, Mike Barros, did a great job of getting my hips strong and my core strong, so I'm able to defend takedowns and do stuff a little easier.
Thank you.
Thanks.
How's it going?
Anthony, long journey to get here. I know you didn't get the result you wanted, but still, I mean, main event, big time title shot against, perhaps the greatest of all time. You go the 5 full rounds. What's the emotion like for you right now?
Just really disappointed. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I did exactly what I told everyone I wasn't going to do. I let John Jones sit back and beat John Jones. I don't know, I guess sometimes you just go in there, it's not your night, I guess, but that's just not good enough for me. I don't know, I just couldn't pull the trigger. And when I did, I didn't combo up like I was supposed to, and I don't know, man, I didn't do anything I was supposed to do, except for defend the takedowns, and I think I did a much better job of checking kicks than I have in the past, but my cardio held up, so all you fucking idiots can stop talking about it. I mean, that's really the only positive I can take from this, man. It's a whole fuck ton of negatives, that's for sure.
I'm curious because you said right after, I did what I wasn't supposed to do, and it went against. I mean, is it something about the moment, or is it something about just John Jones? Is it something he does in there that makes it the game plan kind of go out the window?
No, I don't even think it went out the window. I just didn't do it. I don't know what happened. Honestly, man, I don't know. I've been trying to. We've been sitting back there talking. I don't know, man. For whatever reason, I just didn't pull the trigger. It's never happened to me in my entire career. Like, you guys have never seen me sit there and sit idle. It's just not my thing, I don't know what happened, but it sucks.
The last thing for me, I mean, it seems like you're really frustrated over anything else, but I mean, are there positives to take from this? I mean, there's people who said you didn't deserve to be in there, and you went 5 rounds. I mean, John Jones has run through people in the past, and you made it to the end, and he praised you for your durability after. So do you take any positives to say, I belong here, and I'm going to continue to belong here?
Well, I mean, I absolutely belong here, and I think that the fight alone proves that. And I don't know what other 205er is going to fuck with me. I just don't see that happening. I mean, I was in there, you know what I mean? And I don't feel like I got ran through. I just kind of got shut down. I mean, I don't feel like John Jones just went in there and beat the shit out of me. I just couldn't get going, and I mean, that's John Jones though, I guess, he I said I needed to force John Jones to fight me, and I didn't do that. He didn't fight me. He nullified me, and it's gonna haunt me for a long time. And I'm gonna have to get back to the drawing board and sit down with Mark and Scott and figure out what the fuck happened.
Anthony, congratulations on a great effort. Did you feel like the kicks to the body, those spinning back kicks he had, took anything out of you and slowed you just a little bit, that maybe that was a reason that you couldn't get your offense going?
It could have been. I mean, as far as the effect that the body kicks had on me, like physically, it wasn't there, but it definitely gave me something else to look for, but again, that's we worked on those time and time again, and it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, his timing was a little bit different, and he set him up a little bit differently than he has before, so I mean, I didn't see anything that I wasn't prepared for. I think that I dealt with the oblique kicks pretty well. I don't think he really got any of those off that were effective. I blocked almost all the, what did he throw, like 10 head kicks? I think one of them got through just a little bit. I mean, he didn't do one thing that I wasn't ready for, and that's what the frustrating part is. I didn't see anything that I haven't been seeing for 9 weeks.
Can you explain what happened? Both, he seemed to have that illegal kick to the head first, and then the illegal knee. First, the kick, did that get through to your face? And then the knee, can you kind of talk us through sort of what your thought process was after that landed?
Yeah, the kick was hard. The kick was really hard. And I kind of got lost for a second, trying to figure out. It was one of those times, like, was I on my feet? I couldn't figure out if it was illegal, and I realized, like, no, I was sitting on my ass. And Herb said that it was to the body, and so we kept on going, and then the knee happened, and again, it's confusing when shit like that happens because you're not expecting it because you're down. Which is exactly why I wasn't coming straight to my feet, because John times that stuff so well. You kind of got to time it perfectly. So, I don't know, man. It was the 2 hardest shots I took all night.
Did Herb say anything to you afterwards about that? I mean, did he talk to you at all about the kick to the face?
No. I imagine him and Mark Montoya and Bob Bennett and those guys are going to have that conversation at some point in time tonight.
And I wonder if you can just kind of, is Jones as good as you thought he was, or do you feel like maybe he wasn't as good in that you showed that he was overrated?
No, that's a beatable man. That I didn't walk out of there thinking, wow, he's a lot better than I thought. Or, like when Rampage lost to John and he stood there and said, like, this kid's for real, this guy's good, like almost laying out to John. I don't feel like that. I'm not going to take anything away from him because, he did a phenomenal job of doing what he had to do tonight. But that's, I don't have the feeling that's a guy that I can't beat. I just didn't do, I didn't do anything I was supposed to do, and I still went, and I still was in there. It wasn't like he ran right over me and made me look like I was. I don't feel like I got embarrassed. And I'll be back. John Jones and I will see each other again. That's for sure. Because there's no one else in the entire fucking division that's going to do anything about that. I don't care who it is. There's no one else that's going to stop me from getting back to John Jones.
Anthony, back here, all the way in the back.
Gotcha.
Just point blank, is John Jones a dirty fighter?
I don't know. Are you talking about the kick and the knee and all the other bullshit?
Even prior to your fight, I think that there's some idea as well.
As far as the PED stuff, man, I mean, it'd be real easy for me to sit here and blame it on that, man. I as far as that goes, no, I don't think he is right now. I'm not saying that he's not. He hasn't ever been. I'm not. Again, I'm not going to give John a pass. I think he has used PEDs in the past, but I think that right now he's a clean fighter. Until I see the knees and the kick, or the knee and the kick from the outside, I don't know what he was seeing, so I can't answer that question either.
And you've been in there with former champions, you've been in there with hard hitters. What's the biggest difference in the level between a guy like John Jones and those other fighters at 205 that you fought?
I think it goes back to his fight IQ. He's smart. He made a lot of good decisions in there. And he's I hate to just say it, he's long. He's hard to get to. He was harder to get to than I expected. But he was smart, man. He made a lot of good decisions, and he went back to the well on the things that worked, but not too many times to where you could start to time it or expect it or get a read on it. He's smart. He did a good job of playing his game.
Anthony, right here. It sounds like you're processing this more as a loss, as perhaps some things that you weren't able to do and not so much of what John was able to do to you. And if that's the case, what was the missing link for you tonight?
I'm processing it like that because that's how it happened. Again, John didn't do anything that I wasn't expecting him to do. He did every single thing I expected him to do. I just didn't do what I was supposed to do in response. And what was the second part of your question? Sorry.
That was it. You just answered it. I said, what was the missing link then?
Yeah, that's it. I didn't do. We had an answer for the oblique kicks. We had an answer for the head kicks. We had an answer for the front kicks down the middle. We had an answer for all the stuff on the cage, the elbow fighting. And I almost had to goad him into the elbow fight. He didn't want to. I had to let him do that to try to land my own elbows. And obviously that didn't work out that well, but. He did everything, and the only part of it that I really was able to nullify was the wrestling part of it. I just don't know why. I didn't do any of it. It's the most frustrating shit in the world.
Anthony, what was your corner telling you during the fight? They saw what you were doing or what you weren't doing. Did they try to get you on track?
Yeah. That's one of the most. That's why I feel so terrible. Is they're just frustrated too because we worked so goddamn hard on this and trained so hard and so many people sacrificed and Man, just that I had to be offensive and I had to go. Like, you got to go. You got to fight him. Like, you can, like, you have to go. And I don't know what happened, man. I don't know.
So in the beginning of the last round, when it was clear that the fight had gotten away from you on the scorecards, it looked like you started off a lot more fast-paced. Did you, just for that moment, did you feel a little freer to just kind of see what happens if you throw something out there?
Yeah, that a little bit, but he started in orthodox that round, and I was having a lot of success when John was standing orthodox. And then he switched to southpaw, and then I had to back off a little bit because his rear side attacks from southpaw are really, really dangerous. So that was part of it, and I was just trying to get going. It was like I was trying to force myself to pull the trigger. I know I just keep saying I don't know. It's never happened to me before, and I wasn't worried about what he was going to do back. I wasn't worried about the counter. I just couldn't go. I don't know, man. Maybe that's what happens to everyone with John Jones. Fuck, I don't know. But, we'll get back and just figure it out. Thanks, guys.
Bob, thanks for coming back here and spending some time with us. Big controversy from the outside looking in on the Askren Lawler stoppage. Curious, kind of what you saw there, what decision was made, and how you guys walked through that.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your patience, for waiting for me to show up. Is this on? I don't have my hearing aids in. Okay. Every fight that we have a briefing before the fight and a debriefing afterwards. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. With the Lawler fight, according to referee Herb Dean, who's a world-class referee, it was a borderline stoppage. Robbie was doing significant damage, and he thought that Askren was fighting just enough back so that he didn't have to stop that fight. Okay? So he, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I thought you just.
Well, that's fine. It started out there, but then we did get to the choke. And
okay. So yeah, I'd be happy to answer that choke. And the first thing I like to share with everybody here, between MMA and boxing, you guys write. You ladies and gentlemen, write on various sites and papers. But I want to start off by telling you that if you're not familiar with it, a referee has an incredible job. He's got, or she, has 2 lives in their hands in a cage or a 20 by 20 ring in the state of Nevada, okay? There's a litany of things that go into being a world-class referee, all right? And this particular question, in the Bulldog choke, on Robbie, you could see it right in front of us that when Herb picked up his hand just dropped, okay? It just dropped, which would be indicative of him being out, okay? And then he went ahead and grabbed his hand again, and it came up a little, and it moved ever so slightly, okay? There was no doubt in our mind that he was out. Whether, you can argue if you've ever been choked out, if you've ever been knocked out. There's times when you know you've been choked or knocked out, and there's times where you say, hey, man, what the hell happened? I mean, and I'm saying that I'm not a professional, was never a professional fighter, but I've had it happen to me because somebody asked me that tonight, and I thought it was kind of freaking inappropriate, but I'll bring that to the table right now. So with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, our number one priority is the health and safety of the fighter. In our pre-brief fights, I specifically instruct the referees to make sure we stop the fight one punch or one kick sooner than later. Okay? In the interest of the health and safety of the fighter, Robbie's a phenomenal warrior. He's been in the business for quite some time. He was clearly out. If you were sitting where we were, which you were on the opposite side of where we were, and anybody that follows boxing knows that sometimes that can be critical in making a decision. And Herb decided to pull the plug and say he was, he was submitted. Now, Robbie, you may say, well, Robbie jumped right up and said, I won't repeat what he said, hey, what the fuck, man, I was good, or words to that effect. And then he and Herb had a conversation. And then kudos to Robbie because he was the consummate professional and talked with Herb afterwards, came to whatever understanding they did, and congratulated the opponent. And that was the end of the fight. And I can tell you right now, as the executive director and on behalf of the commission, none of us had a problem with that.
Bob, I guess the only other question I had in terms of that, is that a situation where instant replay could have been used, or did you go to the replay at all? I mean, is that something where, because as you said, we were on the other side and couldn't really see, could video evidence have helped a little bit to make sure the situation was right?
That's, excuse me, that's a great question. In that particular instance, no, we didn't need instant replay. Herb didn't ask for it, nor did I think we needed it because it was like right in front of me. And when, you take a look at his arm, it was, it was like a no-brainer from where we sat. Now, I'm not a ringside physician. I don't have any medical background. Could he have come back shortly after and oxygen got back to the brain? He was out, and then all of a sudden it came back? Sure. But when you see that arm just drop, hey, man, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it for us, for the fighter. And instead of saying we're customer service oriented, we're fighter service oriented. And, our actions speak for our words. We obviously wish Robbie continued success. And, it was an unfortunate situation because he was tuning up Ben pretty well. Well, in my opinion, pretty well. Right, he got lucky. Well, we'll see. You ask for bigger and better opponents, I'm sure they'll get it, and we wish you continued success too. And I take nothing away from you now that you're sitting over there. I better be careful. No. Bottom line is what I said is really what I said, and now that he's here, I'll give him kudos because he really did weather the storm. And I'll tell you right now, all of you, this is exactly what we speak about in our debriefings. We're very fortunate here in Las Vegas because all the officials stay here. We fly them in. They don't have to drive 2 hours after the event. And we stay here and we go over what we did right and what we could have done better. And that's been a standard practice here for almost 5 years that I've been the executive director. I'm welcome to take any other questions or concerns.
Hey, Bob. Right in front.
Sorry. Told you, I'm my hearing aid. Been around too much gunfire in my life, so be careful. Now, go ahead, Mark.
I just want to get a clarification on the replay rule in Nevada. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Replay can be used during the course of the fight, and the fight can still continue. I know in a lot of other jurisdictions that if you're going to go to replay, the fight has to end after that. That's it. Correct?
That is correct. Our regs have recently been approved so that we can use instant replay in more than the one opportunity that we have to use it right now. We will be putting a list together, that would be in favor of the fighters of when we want to utilize instant replay, so that if fighter A really damages fighter B, we don't give fighter B too much of a time to recuperate when we take a look at the replay. But we will fine tune that, and I'm authorized to do that, as is the chairman or any other commissioners, and that's something that we will be doing with boxing as well. It's a wonderful tool. Every other sport uses it. We're going to be using it more often. Just as a quick aside, a couple of years ago at the Hard Rock at the DeGale fight, unfortunately one of the referees thought it was a punch that caught DeGale in the eye, and it turned out to be a headbutt. And when he walked by me, I said, "Hey, that was a headbutt, right?" And he goes, "No, it was a punch." And it was probably a poor question on my part, but it really rocked my world because it was clearly a headbutt, and DeGale was making a comeback. This was a big fight for him. I'm going, man, if we get this wrong, it's just unacceptable for this fighter's profession, and this is not what we get paid to do. And fortunately, Mr. DeGale weathered the storm, and he ended up winning the fight, even though he retired, a month ago. Say, Kev. Last week. All right.
Bob, in the main event, when Jones struck Smith when he was on the ground, when Herb was deciding the penalty, he stopped and watched the monitor. He watched the overhead replay of the incident. Is that encouraged? Is that part of regulation? How does that work?
Another great question. Based on the fact that our regs were just recently approved to utilize instant replay, and we don't have a standard operational procedure for them, I spoke with the referees about it prior to the fight, and I said, "Hey, you got something that comes up, you're not sure if it was a headbutt, a kick, a knee for a grounded opponent, let me know and we'll go to the instant replay." So in that particular case, I had already been speaking to the people in the truck so that we could make sure we got it right back, and got the information I requested right away for the referee, and that's why it was implemented tonight. It might have been somewhat awkward, but when all is said and done, as far as we're concerned, it's in the best interest of the fighter, and that's why we're here. I hope that answered your question, Adam.
So, Bob, right here.
Thank you.
How you doing, Bob?
All right, Lance.
Hey. Can you explain exactly what happened? So it has to be an intentional thing for the fight to have stopped and be ruled a DQ, or what exactly was the ruling based on with the 2 points?
Okay, Herb, make a long story short, because there's other things I could speak about, but, Herb thought that was an intentional foul. He believed that, Mr. Jones had several techniques that were borderline. They weren't any fouls, but, he was throwing some kicks and some knees that were, very close. And when that knee hit him in the head, Herb thought it was intentional, called it intentional. Mr. Smith was able to continue, and thus Herb took a mandatory 2-point deduction, or he could have DQ'd him.
Why not the DQ?
Because Mr. Smith, Anthony, was able to continue.
All right, Bob. Right here.
Thank you.
So this is definitely not the first time we've seen John Jones involved in something that seemed like an intentional foul, and definitely not the first time that it's happened in Nevada. Is this something that you want to consider as far as instructions to him in the corner, or when his licensing hearing is coming up? Is this something that's going to play a factor into any decisions Nevada makes with him?
Yeah, no, that's another great question, and I want to thank you for I don't want to make a habit of it, but I want to thank you for asking me to come and speak today. No, we don't have any prejudice or bias towards Mr. Jones and the manner in which he fights, or any other fighter. I can assure you on the championship fights that either myself or the chief assistant, Jeff Mullen, tonight when we had 2 championship fights, we go into the dressing room and we go through the pre-fight instructions with the fighter, with the referee. The chairman Marnell III also goes, and sometimes some of the commissioners, so that when the referee gives a pre-fight instruction, there's a clear-cut understanding that, the fingers have to be back, that some people have some concerns about that, and rightfully so. So, that'll be emphasized along with the other unified rules. If a fighter in the past has had a habit of doing something that's borderline, typically the other camp will bring it up, and we will say, listen, we will address it with that fighter. Right now, we're addressing the same unified rules with you, and if that comes up in the fight, we'll address it at the fight, during the fight, excuse me. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Anything else? You sure you don't want anything? I'm so excited. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're looking for somebody bigger and better, huh? It's definitely not me. Thank you very much.
Who's first? Me?
All right, let's have some fucking fun.
It's been a wild night. We probably shouldn't expect anything less from you, but obviously it's not your job to call the end of the fight. So I mean, with the way things played out, how are you feeling right now? Satisfied? Unsatisfied?
Yeah, I feel great. I went and did my job, and I watched the video. I saw the arm go limp. I know he said he was trying to relax himself, but I don't know any conscious person who just goes, I mean, right? This doesn't happen. So, but that's not my job. And to what Mr. Bennett said, they tell you in the pre-fight room, if I'm saying protect yourself, protect yourself, protect yourself, you have to give me something. And he said he couldn't hear me, but there's definitely nothing. My arm's here, so there's definitely nothing over that one ear.
You definitely took some damage early on.
Absolutely.
I mean, give us an idea of how you felt in there. Were you concerned that the fight might be stopped the other way?
Yeah, I really wasn't even thinking about that. You know what? Actually, my initial entry was pretty beautiful. I had single leg to a drag, kind of almost took his back, and then where it went all wrong was he got his arm out the side, and he's really freaking strong, and he went up and down really fast. I wasn't able to reposition myself before the fall, so I fell on my head. And not only did I fall on my head, then he had my wrist trapped. So then he was unloading punches because my wrist was trapped. I couldn't get out to defend myself. And it took me a few minutes to get that squared away. And once I got it squared away, I think I didn't watch this part of it, but I believe I got into some type of half guard, popped up, put him against the cage, eventually got a takedown, and then the choke.
He came in a little earlier and handled himself with class, but did say he'd really like to run it back. Considering the way it ended, would you be open to a rematch?
Not really. I mean, I didn't really want to fight him in the first place. I like Robbie Lawler a lot. What's the point? Right now, I got a plane ticket to London. I heard they gave Colby Marty, which that's kind of annoying. Nobody likes Colby. Just get him out of here, please. I thought he was getting traded or something. So I'm going to go to London. Till versus Masvidal, that's like 3 versus 6, 3 versus 7. I think the winner of that's probably going to be top 3. And that's who I'd like to fight.
Right here, Ben.
Yeah.
You tweeted some comments a couple hours ago, about 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Can you clarify what you meant by that?
Absolutely. Man, if I would have fought like that, the arena would have booed me out of the place. I mean, how many times did they get broken up because of lack of action? And obviously, on Tyron's end, as a competitor, Tyron needs to let his hands go and get it going. But as far as Marty's concerned, he was just pushing him into the cage. When he was on top, wasn't really doing much. And that's like something I've got criticized excessively for in my career. And I've never held anyone against the cage for a while. So, I didn't really like that.
Ben,
obviously, I understand there's some bias involved.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. I know that's kind of your MO to, get under people's skin. But, I mean, you really believe that? A lot of people think that was an exceptional performance by Usman.
I don't know, really? That's not what I felt when I was watching it. I felt that Tyron didn't let his offense go. That was what I felt when I was watching it. I mean, really, Kamaru, Marty, whatever his damn name is, he pushed him against the cage. When he got the takedown, so it's not like he progressed anywhere. There was the one segment in the 4th round when they really both kind of let it go for about 30 seconds. And, besides that, how many breakages? You tell me how many breakages were there due to lack of action? I think 4, 5.
There were a couple that felt that they were unwarranted, though. He was in a good position when the referee broke it.
But he wasn't doing it. You have to do something. They tell you that. You got to do something. You can't just push.
We just spoke to Robbie a few moments ago,
Yeah.
and he said that he wasn't anywhere close to passing out or tapping out. You're the one that had your arm around his neck, though.
Yeah.
How tight was that? Do you feel he would have been able to get out of that position?
I mean, he wasn't getting out. It was just, could I squeeze him out before the end of the round or not? I mean, I wasn't letting go of that, and I got a pretty tight squeeze.
Thanks.
Yep.
Ben, after everything that was going on, how does this win rank among all your wins you've had, given how long it took you to get here and all the shit that was talked over the years?
It feels good. Feels really good. But yeah, I keep saying this. Every fighter's only as good as their last performance, right? You have a great performance, everyone thinks you're the champ. You look like shit, everyone tells you suck. And that's, so it's about stringing a lot of good ones together. The quality, I guess, that I don't like to showcase in this sport, but I had to tonight, was just toughness, right? A lot of people, when they get slammed and punched hard by Robbie Lawler, they say, I'm fucking out of here. Or they'll roll over, they'll give up their back, and they'll get choked out. But that just wasn't going down like that. I was going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting until I got what I wanted. So, I think I showcased some toughness. I faced some adversity, and I haven't really faced a lot of that in my career. I've been so much better than people that I haven't needed to show that quality, which, I'd probably prefer it to be that way. But if I got to show some toughness once in a while, that's probably a good thing.
And does it take away from it? It's a good night for you, and you got a lot of great coverage this week, and then you have your friend lose the title. I mean, does that take away from your own personal stuff?
Yeah, that was sad. You know what? I was really disappointed with the UFC staff. I thought I had it cleared on Tuesday that as soon as I got done with my fight that I would go out to the cage. They said no problem. And then I tried going out there, and they stopped me. They wouldn't even let me go in the arena, and I was really disappointed by that. I mean, if you don't want to let me in the corner, fine, but find an effing seat for me somewhere a couple rows back where I can watch one of my best friends perform. I was really disappointed by that fact because I thought the issue was handled ahead of time, and I didn't foresee that becoming an issue. So I rushed back. I skipped stitches so I could go out there with them, and then they stopped me, and I really didn't like that.
Who was it that stopped you? Because I just had seen somebody in the back tweeted
Yeah.
the commission stopped you, not UFC staff.
Well, it was probably the UFC. It was Dean, which, I really like the guy. He does a great job. But I specifically talked to him about that issue. I said, I'm fighting right next to Tyron. I'm going to get done. I'm going to hustle back. I'm going to be in his corner. And he said, hey, that's not an issue. You'll have time. They're walking from different corners. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, cool. I didn't. They say good. I don't think about it. I didn't think about it again. I got other stuff to think about. And so then when I hustle back, I skip stitches to be in his corner, and they're like, nah, you're out. And then on top of that, they're not even like, okay, you can't be in his corner, but let's find you somewhere to watch it a couple rows away. I was just kind of disappointed by the whole process. And, I understand there's rules and stuff here, but I thought I did my due diligence in taking care of that.
And my last question, had you been in his corner, would you have been saying anything through, would you have been able to give advice to him?
Yeah.
Would you have been able to make any kind of tangible impact other than just being there for moral support?
You never know. I mean, you're right. I coach a lot of kids, right? My brother and I run 3 wrestling academies, and you just never know. Sometimes it's not always me, what someone's going to say that's going to make something click. And, the one thing that Tyron's main weakness, which it showed tonight, is his need for perfection, right? He kept looking for that perfect punch, and Marty just kept pressing forward, and the perfect punch didn't come. But at some point, you just got to let it go. And so I know if I'm in the corner, that's what I'm going to say. I'm tired. Just let your hands go. Punch him in the face. It's not that hard. Hit him. And that's what I would have been saying to him over and over and over again. Would that made a difference? I'm not sure, but I would have liked to have had that opportunity. And, like I said, I felt like I did my due diligence earlier in the week to take care of it. And I guess next time I'll be more prepared.
Hey, Ben, over here.
Yeah, what's up?
Dana said backstage just now that he wants the rematch with Robbie right away.
Yeah.
Any reaction to that?
I pass. Yeah.
I mean, if that's the only thing they offer, is that?
I guess we'll have that discussion. Like I said, I'd like to fight the winner of Till Masvidal. I think that makes a whole lot of sense as far as the division is concerned. And like I said, I didn't really want to fight Robbie in the first place. I didn't like that matchup, and so I told them yes the first time without a hesitation. First time they proposed it, I said, okay, let's go. Did that.
And then last thing for me, yesterday at weigh-ins, you went to shake Dana's hand and
that was
he put his hand out and you didn't shake it back. What was that all about?
That was my social cluelessness. I did not see him offer to shake my hand, and so that was my bad. That was like no disrespect intended whatsoever. I just didn't realize it.
You were saying something to him too.
Yeah, of course.
What were you saying?
I'd like him to push back a little bit, give him some shit. He can give me some shit back.
Well, now maybe you have that opportunity with this possible rematch.
Well, I was hoping, whatever.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep.
Hi, Ben. At the end of the fight, you shouted to Dana, "Is that the best that you got?" And then you
That's
kind
funny,
of,
right?
You're a funny guy. We know you're a funny guy. And you had the thing at the weigh-in, and then again, it's like, are you just gonna send him an edible arrangement? Can you guys just make up and move on?
Yeah, I've offered to sit down with him multiple times. He seems to have no interest in that. I don't know what his hesitation is. If I'm gonna be one of the top fighters in the division, to sit down and take 30 minutes out of your day to talk to me, that wouldn't be such a big deal in my opinion. I've reached out multiple times to him to sit down and talk for 20 minutes. He has no interest in talking to me. I honestly, to this day, I don't know what his problem was in 2013. I don't know what his problem is now. If any one of you guys can get him to sit down and talk to me for 20 minutes, I'd love to have that. But, I haven't had that opportunity. Anybody else? All right. Thanks, guys.
This thing on?
Oh
man. First thing I want to say, Salam alaikum, alhamdulillah. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank everybody for the show all week. Everything that you guys put together, especially you media, you know, whether good or bad, at least you're writing about something. You're writing about me, and you're giving me that platform to be able to inspire and motivate. And, you know, Nainja, we don't do on telese, we go do on. Telese, we know the Eva Karelas, and we don't do on today. Make everybody stand up. Nainja, we don't day. First question.
Karu, couldn't help but notice you came in a wheelchair here and limped to the chair. So give us an idea of what's going on, what your status is.
Man, I've said it. You know, when I came in, I said this is what I was going to do. I said I was coming for that welterweight strap, and there was nothing that was going to stop me from attaining that and achieving that. For a long, long time, I've been on one leg. I've been fighting fights on one leg. When I fought in the Ultimate Fighter finale, I had microfracture surgery, and that's usually an 8-month recovery turnaround. I had to fight 3 months after that, and I fought 3 months after that. And I had to train through that, with that. I've been on one leg the whole time. And coming into this fight, I was in a boot all week. I fractured my left foot, and I was in a boot. I was walking around in a boot. But nothing was going to deter me from achieving what I've been, you know, what I've set out to achieve. And so, you know, I'm hoping that I can go back and have the doctor really look at it. You know, now I get a little bit of time. Now, I don't want that much time because, you know, there's a couple of guys I need to beat up, but I need a little bit of time to let these injuries heal so I can not just be 30%, so I can be 100% inside that cage.
You mentioned you've been on this journey for a long time now. You know, not only did you complete it, but you made history as the first African-born champion. So just give me an idea what the emotion is like. I'm sure it's still setting in a little bit, but what does it feel like right now?
Yeah, it's you know, I always envisioned that and knew, hearing them saying and Dana wrapping that belt around me, and just knowing all the things that I was fighting for, not just for me and my family, and not just for the continent of Africa, but for everyone all across the world that come from humble beginnings, that don't know when their next meal is going to come from, don't know if they're going to get clean water the next day. I was doing this for everyone. I was doing this to motivate, to inspire them that, you know, just because they're in the current situation, that's not always going to determine where their life is going to be later on. So, you know, this was for everybody.
You dominated from pretty much start to finish, but I wonder, is there a moment in the fight where you said, I know, I've got this. This is done?
I think about, I heard 30, actually no, maybe about, I heard 30 seconds, and then I was thinking, okay, I need the clap. I need to hear that clap. In the 5th round, once I heard that 10-second clap, I said, okay, I think I just became a world champion. You know, nothing but respect for Tyron. I respect that man. I remember when he won the title, I was at his after party, and me and Rashad brought me in, and I got a chance to sit up there next to him, and we sat down. He was just chilling, and I sat next to him, and I whispered in his ear, and I asked him, and I said, hey, how do you feel now that you're champion? What's the difference? And he told me, he said, you know, nothing really. You know, I still feel the same. And at that moment, I said, you know what? I think I can do this. I can do it. I mean, Rashad has been pouring into me the whole time, telling me that I will be able to do this. And, you know, you say it. I said that, you know what, I'm coming for that welterweight strap, but I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. You know, I'm a math guy. Okay, that's the answer. This is the formula. Now we got to work out the problems in order to be able to get there. And, you know, tonight was my night.
Last thing for me, I know you want to heal up first. It takes some time to address that, but I'm sure you saw Colby Covington cage side. I mean, is that the right fight for you?
Can I curse up
rematch. What's that?
Can I curse up here?
Of course you can.
I want to fuck that guy up so bad. I can't be in a room with that guy. I can't be in a room with him. It's like, I just can't. And, you know, I can't wait to be healed up and really get to put my hands on him. You know what? That's one I'm going to enjoy, brutalizing him.
Kamaru, congratulations. You talk about, wanting to make a difference in people's lives in Africa. Are you going to do anything are you going to visit there? Are you going to do any kind of charitable acts? I know when I talked to you, you said, just watch what I do when I become the champion for those people. So I'm just kind of curious what your plans might entail.
We've got some things cooking. I mean, in my village where I'm from, they're still not running water everywhere. People are still struggling to get clean water. So we're going to put something together. I have an excellent team, a great manager, and we're going to put something together. We're going to start an amazing foundation, and we're really going to change lives.
So when you said you came from a village with no clean water, did you have running water when you were a kid there?
We didn't have running water. Water we get from wells. And there was a stint where I lived with my grandma. We had to walk miles to get water, bring it over to the house, and you had to boil the water because you never know what parasites were in the water. So you had to boil it just in order to be able to cook, to wash your clothes, to shower, and things like that. And a lot of people are still suffering from waterborne, diseases like malaria is very common there. A lot of people are still suffering from those. And so this is just part of the problem. There's so many things out of the problem, but we're going to look to work together and create something to where we can make life better for everyone.
And I'm just curious, because I'm guessing that poor people like that, they're not watching the UFC, right? So how do they, I know you, when you were a kid, knew about top fighters, Muhammad Ali or whoever. How do you find out about those people, and how do you become an inspiration to them when maybe they haven't seen you fight before? Like, is it just because you're the first African? Is that why it would be inspirational to them?
I mean, not every kid has seen Michael Jackson, but I'm pretty sure they know who Michael Jackson is or of him. And that's what I want to do. I want to create a legacy to where people are going to know about, hey, did you know of the Nigerian Nightmare? Did you guys realize that there was 2 other Nigerian Nightmares in the building tonight? Samuel Peters, WBC heavyweight champion of the world, was in the building tonight. Christian Okoye, Kansas City Chiefs, was in the building tonight. And that was monumental. I never watched a game from him, Christian Okoye. I never actually watched a live fight from Samuel Peters, but I knew these were Nigerian Nightmares that came before me, and it was just amazing. I mean, that's just how it goes. When you leave a legacy and you leave an excellent body of work, it will trickle down and people will find out about it.
And, did you invite those 2 guys? I mean, was that specifically your invitation that they came?
Absolutely. I reached out. I worked with the UFC, obviously excellent team once again back here, and they made it happen. I said that I wanted those guys here. I wanted to pay homage to the guys that inspired me, even though they didn't know they inspired me. Like I said, I never watched their game. I never watched their live fight, but I've watched highlights. Once I found out about these guys, I had to look them up and I had to research them, and I did, and they inspired me. And so I had to have them here and pay homage to these guys.
Sam Peter could bang. He was a killer.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
My last question, if you say you were 30%, what were you limited in doing? Because you took a guy that some people were saying was the greatest welterweight of all time, at least in that conversation. You neutralized his offense almost 100%. So what were you limited in doing? Because it didn't look like you were too limited.
Yeah, to this day, people haven't really seen me open up my kicking arsenal. I can kick, everybody. I can kick. I work with one of the best striking coaches in the world, Henry Hooft, and we can kick. And people really haven't seen that. I've been on one leg for years now. So being able to open up and use my kick would make me so much more dangerous. It wouldn't even be fair once I start to use some of the weapons that we work on. But when I get in these fights and I have to go through the ringer to prepare for them, and I know that I'm not 100% going in, winning is the most important thing, and dominating is the most important thing, and that's what we've been doing.
Congratulations, Kamaru. Right here. Congratulations. Yesterday, Israel Adesanya was very adamant to make it clear he wanted you to become the first Nigerian-born UFC champion. Have you had a chance to speak with him yet and get his congratulations?
Izzy is my boy. Not after the fight, no, not yet, but Izzy's my man. I mean, a rare talent. And I met Izzy before He even got into UFC when he was fighting over in China. Rashad Evans was over there, and he said, "There's another Nigerian here. This is another Nigerian here." And Rashad watched him fight over in China, and Rashad said, "This guy was going to be a problem." And Rashad FaceTimed me with Izzy sitting next to him. And we spoke Pidgin in our native tongue, and we introduced ourselves. And I said, man, that guy was going to be a problem. And lo and behold, the next year, he comes to our gym to help Vitor train for John Jones. That's when I watched him train, and I said, this guy's going to be a killer. And here we are now. And back-to-back months, Nigeria can have 2 champions. Of course, he has a tough fight because Kelvin Gastelum is no slouch. But where have you ever seen that done? You know, coming from humble beginnings like we have, Nigeria, Africa could have 2 back-to-back champions in just months. And not to mention, Francis Ngannou is staring at that heavyweight title right now. So, you know what? I've said it, 2019, we might possibly have 3 West African champions.
Kamaru, you've had Rashad with you all week. What's it been like for the roles to be switched between the two of you? Instead of you being in his corner and helping him train, now he's been behind you.
Well, I mean, you got to kind of really ask him because I don't know. Rashad is in this transition to where he's transitioning out from being that badass dude that I came into the sport knowing. He's still that badass dude to me. Sometimes I feel like because he's so humble. He's so humble to where sometimes I feel like he doesn't even realize it. And I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, you could still fuck guys up. Yeah, you had a little bad stint here, but you could still kill these guys. But he's so humble to where it's it really floors me. But one thing that, the way I was raised, for someone like that was so instrumental in my life, I owe him so much that I have to do everything to make him proud because he invested a lot in me. So, I hope tonight I did a little bit in helping in making him proud. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. All the good, the bad, everything you guys write, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. The attendance was 14,790. The gate was 4.035 million. The performance of the night went to Diego Sanchez and Johnny Walker, and the fight of the night was Garbrandt versus Munoz. Those guys all get 50 grand.
Dana, great night of fights. Some controversy, of course, with Ben Askren's debut. It was kind of playing out right in front of you. So just wondering what kind of view you got into that and what you thought of that stoppage.
Bad stoppage. And, we had a debate, me, the referee, and the commission over being choked out. I've been choked out many times before, too. And one of the things that you don't do is jump right up and say, what the fuck did you just do? It never happens that way. That was a bad stoppage. It happens. What are you going to do? It sucks. It was a good fight.
Let's say we've talked to both guys. Robbie said he'd love to run it back. Ben said he passes. He said he didn't want the fight to begin with. He took it. but he doesn't want to do it again. He'd like the Till Masvidal winner, and I think he said he's going to London as well. So
He'd like the what?
He'd like the Till Masvidal winner in London.
We want to do the fight again, so we'll figure it out.
Sounds good. Kamaru Usman, new champ there, looked pretty incredible tonight. Curious what you thought of his performance this evening.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were there at the press conference. Woodley said, "What are you going to do to me? I do everything better than you do." So, and I told you guys after the RDA fight, I respect RDA a lot, and I use him as a gauge for guys when they're coming up. And he looked so good in that RDA fight. I knew after Colby turned down that fight that I wanted to do the fight with Usman.
You walked over to Colby with about 2 minutes left in the fight. Obviously, he was caged with his belt and all that. I'm curious what the conversation was with 2 minutes left in the fight. What you had to say to him?
No, there was just when there was a lot of ruckus going on over there in his area. He almost got into it with Mama Woodley at one point and everything. That was like the third time I'd gone over to him that night. So I just told him, listen, you're going to get this title shot. Don't fuck this up. Just relax. You and all you guys relax. If anything goes down, let our people handle it, and we're going to take you in the back in a little while here and do some interviews. That's all I said to him.
So that's the fight to make then.
Yeah.
And lastly, let's ask about Jon Jones. I mean, it didn't get a finish, but he had a dominant performance. Almost got disqualified. So I'm just curious what you thought of his performance as a whole, and if you had flashbacks of Matt Hamill or something when he's got the...
Yeah, it's always difficult when somebody does that. But it's a weasel move if you try to weasel out of the fight if you're not really hurt and try to win the fight that way. You didn't win the fight. You're not winning the fight. And much respect to Smith for being a stand-up guy like that, because it's a weasel move, and he could have copped out and he could have done it. I think the ref did a good job taking 2 points too. Yeah, and you look at the hand. It was right. Was it? It's one of those things. So much respect to Smith for doing what he did.
Dana, I'm curious if you consider Brock an potential opponent for John.
I think that Brock and Cormier want that fight. So I owe Cormier a lot. Cormier wants that fight. Cormier's going to get it.
Okay. What time frame might that be then?
I have no clue. I literally have not talked to Brock at all.
Okay.
He's doing his WWE thing. He's one of those guys, when he's ready, he'll call me. I don't chase anybody around, man. I make fights. And when people are ready to fight, they let me know. And if they're not, we don't talk.
It seems like, as dominant as John's been, you used the phrase a lot of times, clean out the division. He's cleaned it out many times over.
Yep,
so there doesn't seem to be a guy that you sit there and say, that's the guy to fight with Jon Jones. So do you push him to heavyweight? Like, what do you do with him to get a...
You don't want to see Thiago Santos fight Jon Jones? No?
No, I didn't say that.
Kevin Elliott doesn't want to see it, but I do.
I didn't answer the question.
Yeah. That means no.
I'd maybe rather see him fight Brock, but that's just me.
You'd rather see him fight Brock than Thiago Santos, right?
I think Brock, we don't need to have a debate here.
All right.
We'll ask questions. Do you see him shortly at heavyweight?
I don't know. He doesn't seem too excited to go to heavyweight. I'm not pushing anybody to do anything. It's like when guys don't want to fight. It's like, you know what fight I want to see bad? I wanted to see Max Holloway versus Tony Ferguson. But I can't make Tony Ferguson fight. I couldn't make Colby Covington fight when we offered him the fight. I can't make these guys fight. You either want to fight or you don't. Couldn't make, when somebody wants to retire, I don't ever tell them. The only guy I've ever told not to retire was Daniel Cormier. Because I think Cormier's the best right now. I think he's one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. I think he's the greatest heavyweight ever. And I don't think he should retire. That's the only guy I've ever said don't to, or ever intervened whatsoever. If you don't want to fight, my advice to you is don't fight.
So, and with John, I mean, like he's that kind of guy that it seems like he's such a big star that he rises to the occasion, knocking out DC and the thing. And so that's why I say,
No, you're right.
I'm not sure how he would view Santos, but I know how he would view Brock Lesnar or DC. Yeah. And that's why I say.
I love the Thiago Santos fight. I love that fight. I would love to see him versus Jon Jones. The Brock fight is Cormier's. You know, when Cormier's healthy, that's his fight. And plus, Brock has WWE obligations right now, or believe me, he'd be calling me. So that's the fight to make. I don't look at these fights like, you know, I look at the ones that I have. What do I have available right now?
So one you have available is Ben Askren. The one thing that I just don't understand, he said you won't talk to him. Why won't you talk to him?
Oh, my God. This is crazy.
So he just
it's
said
like Colby Covington thinks I hate him, too. I don't know what I do to make people think I hate him. I don't hate these guys at all. I don't talk. Lene, did I not talk to Ben Askren in the back hall when we were walking out for the thing? It's crazy.
He said he wanted to talk to you for a half an hour and you wouldn't give him 30 minutes of your time.
That dude's nuts. He got punched around a little bit tonight. Did he say it after the fight?
He said that right?
Yeah, he got punched around a little bit tonight. That's crazy. He's never asked me for 30 minutes.
Okay.
Ever.
And then
I've never, ever turned down a fighter that's asked me, can we talk? Never once have I ever turned down a fighter. Even Tito. It's true. Never done it, ever.
And then lastly, you know, Usman came in and talked about, you know, just trying to make an impact, you know, using his platform as the world champion to, you know, help people in Africa and whatnot. Do you think he has that kind of, you know, ability to do that, to like make a difference? And will MMA become more of a sport in Africa with you have 3 African fighters that are very big stars in the UFC? Do you think that Africa could be a place where you start to see more fighters come from?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, these guys were telling me that the level of talent out there is insane right now. You know, Israel was saying, when you go there and you see these kids that are there, and I imagine, because you guys know, most of you guys have been in the fight business all of your lives, and any places that have poverty, some of the hardest people in the world come out of there. So it wouldn't surprise me. And I think the fact is that, you know, probably up until 10 years ago, they probably didn't even know what MMA was.
Hey, Danny, here in front. Curious, what do you make of Johnny Walker? You know, 3 KOs in the UFC. The only time he gets hurt is in the post-fight celebration.
Yeah, this kid's awesome, man. This kid's special. And I think that I wish he would stop doing that shit after. There's no upside to celebrating like that after. You know, the kick worm or whatever the hell that thing is that he was trying to do. It's just unnecessary. You don't need to do it. What you did already was impressive enough without the kick worm. I'm hearing that he's okay. I'm hearing, because it's all I've been terrorizing the medical staff about tonight. They're going to wait till Monday to get him an MRI because he said he was fine. All the symptoms look good after the fight, so hopefully that's true.
He keeps saying he wants to wait a good amount of time before getting kind of thrown into the top contenders, but
This guy wants to fight. This guy wants to fight every weekend, which I love. You know, when you are a rising star and you have the talent that guy has, staying active is the best thing you could do for your career. So, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we're not looking to throw him in against anybody serious anytime soon.
Getting back for a second to Ben Askren, outside of the other stuff, was there anything in the cage that impressed you, or what was your thoughts about him actually, his performance?
About who?
Askren.
Askren? Yeah. Well, obviously Askren's tough as nails. Lawler hit him I mean, you guys saw him after. He looked like he got hit by a bus, and you know that damage was done in the first few seconds of the first round. And he came back. I don't agree with the stoppage, like I said earlier, but it happens. These things happen, and he's a tough guy.
Yesterday, he came over to you at weigh-ins before the face-off, and you extended your hand to shake his hand. He didn't shake your hand. He was saying something to you. What was that? It was a very strange interaction you guys had. What was that all about?
Shit, I don't even remember. I don't remember what he said, but I don't remember that I went to shake his hand, but he was telling me something in the middle of all of that, and I don't know. I don't remember what he was saying. It was nothing serious, though. Nothing nothing worth telling you guys. I don't even remember. It was nothing serious.
I think he wants you to go back at him more. He wants to start that rivalry.
Yeah, it's not there. It's not there. I don't dislike the guy. I said some shit about him 5 years ago that obviously hurt his feelings really bad. And this guy talks shit about everybody. I said something about him 5 years ago, and he can't get over it. I do not dislike this kid. I mean, that's why he's here. I brought him in, and he weathered that storm tonight and hung in there, and he's a tough guy. And I look forward to seeing him fight again.
Last thing for me, Cody Garbrandt is a guy, a year and a half ago, he was a guy that the UFC is pushing very hard, very marketable kid. 3 losses in a row now. What do you think the issue is with Cody?
Yeah, the issue with Cody is, man, he just won $50,000 tonight. I mean, that kid is fun. He's fun to watch. And he got clipped, and he got hurt. And I think he just went into war mode, man. He knew he was hurt. So he said, I need to take him out right now. And he just started bombing, trying to finish that fight. And it was one of the most exciting few minutes of a fight that I've seen in a long time. He's that kid. He gets clipped, he got hurt, and he went into war mode.
Thank you.
Hi, Dana.
Hey, buddy.
Here.
Hey.
I'd like to hear about Thiago Santos. Why do you think Thiago Santos is the best fight for Jon Jones, or a good fight for Jon Jones?
Well, who else do you think should fight him?
I agree with you.
Other than Brock. Kevin Iole wants Brock. Who do you want?
I would prefer Thiago.
Who?
I would prefer Thiago.
Who do you say?
Thiago.
Thiago. Oh, good. All right, we're on the same page then. All right, your question sounded like you wanted me to pick somebody else.
No.
Okay.
I just...
Listen, Thiago looks unbelievable at that weight. He's big. I like his fighting style. And when you put Jon Jones in those type of fights, Jones shines. Jones sort of is one of those guys who rises to the level of his opponent, And Smith is usually a very aggressive guy. But when you think you know what you're going to do until you actually get in there with Jon Jones and start fighting him. Tonight you saw flashes of brilliance with Jones. Some of the combinations that he put together and threw, I turned around and looked at Zac Efron and said, Jesus Christ, this guy's so fucking good. I mean, you guys had to say it a few times during this fight tonight, man. Some of the shit that Jon Jones threw is ridiculous, And I think that Thiago Santos is the type of guy that's going to come in, be aggressive, move forward, and give you the kind of fight that you're used to seeing Jon Jones in.
And thinking about another Brazilian, how do you see Johnny Walker's future?
So bright. That guy is so talented. He knocked out Misha Serkinov like this, like it was nothing. Set him up for the knee, and it's one of the nicest flying knees you'll ever see. It was incredible. That guy is super talented, and I hope he's okay, and I look forward to seeing him fight again.
Dana, over here, you mentioned Jon sort of rising to the level of his opponent, and
Yep.
in this era of super fights, I mean, is it satisfying for you, sort of looking at the next couple of years of Jon's career, playing out as him just taking on the #1 contender in the division, rather than kind of pursuing those super fights?
Let's say that again. What's the question?
Is it satisfying when you consider the next couple years of Jon Jones' career, for him to just fight the #1 contenders in the division rather than?
Yeah, listen, I think that, Jon Jones wanting to stay in his own lane and continue to pick off the guys that come up behind him, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's normally what people do. I mean, that's the norm in any division, in any fight, whether it's boxing or wherever. But I think that we expect so much from Jon Jones. You want this guy to move over here and do this and fight this guy and all this stuff. I do too. I mean, I would love to make all those kind of fights. But if you look at Jones, everybody was talking about Smith and what a huge underdog he was, and this fight shouldn't even be happening. I mean, nobody gave this guy the credit that he deserves. Smith is a tough guy. So when you see Jon Jones go the distance with a guy like Smith, you're like, eh. Let's not forget, he just knocked out Daniel Cormier. And I told you, I think Cormier is the greatest heavyweight ever, and I think Cormier is one of the greatest mixed martial artists ever. and John Jones just knocked him out. So Jones is definitely one of those guys that raises to the level of his opponent. You throw a killer in there with John Jones, Jones fights like a killer.
And then just one more quickly, there's been a lot of talk about sort of West African fighters. There are 200 million people in Nigeria. I mean, is that a market that you kind of look at and think that's intriguing?
Yeah, that's a good one. But weird thing, little fact you guys might not know, but for like, I don't know how many years, we've had a TV deal in Africa. And that's definitely helped build the sport, but the numbers that we pull in Africa are incredible. We've been pulling big numbers there for a long time. So the fact that, these guys are crazy talented and guys are starting to pop up left and right, it definitely makes sense.
Hey, Dana.
Hey. What's up, buddy?
What surprised you more, Usman's performance or Woodley's performance?
Woodley. I expected Usman. I like I said, after the RDA fight, Woodley looked less than flat tonight. He looked I don't know. What did he come in here tonight?
Yeah.
And what did he say? What was the reason you have an excuse on why he looked bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if Woodley was going to come in here and say he was hurt or something happened or something like that happened. But yeah, he didn't look like Woodley tonight. He looked flat. I mean, he completely got out wrestled all night. But I figured this would be what I loved about this fight and what I thought was going to make it a great fight is that I knew Usman would go after him. Normally Woodley's so fast with his hands and he's such a good wrestler that most guys can't do both with him. Usman could do both. Usman could wrestle with him, but I didn't expect Usman to go in and absolutely dominate him the entire time wherever he wanted to go. No, I didn't see that coming.
And then last question, Edmund Tarverdian asked me about the performance bonuses, and when I told him who got it, he seemed a little disappointed.
No, you know what? As he should be. As he should be. This is one of those tough nights where you look at Edmund's performance. Diego Zabit and Jeremy Stevens was a good fight. Zhang looked good. If you look at who she beat, and she was ranked number 15, right? She put on a good performance. Pedro Munoz, he's got to be devastated that he didn't get it. But these guys that didn't, and the people that I'm talking about, I'll send them a little extra something too. They didn't get the 50,000, but if you look at who I gave it to, Diego Sanchez, right? Johnny Walker, and Garbrandt and Munoz for the fight of the night. It's pretty tough to debate.
What did you think of Shabazian?
If you look at Usman, Usman just dominated Tyron Woodley for every second of that fight.
Right.
He probably should have, So I'm going to have to write some more checks.
What did you think of Shabazian for being 21?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 9-0, 21 years old, and looked fantastic tonight. He completely shut him down. And you can tell Edmund, relax, he's going to get some money. I'm going to send him some money. All right?
Dana, right here. You mentioned Weili Zhang, and what do you see next for her? She's number 15. She got the unanimous against Tisha Torres. I believe Tisha's number 7 right now.
Yeah, I think she's 7. Yep, she came in at 7. So this girl's in the top 10 now, and she looked damn good against Tisha. And Tisha's fast. Tisha moves a lot. Tisha's hard to hit. Tisha's a really good wrestler, too. She looked really good tonight. And when you think about when we went in a few years ago and did the Ultimate Fighter in Japan, the level of talent was very low, but boy, it's moving quick now. And we're building the Performance Institute that we're opening this summer. We're going there in June for the grand opening. 3 times bigger than Las Vegas's. So you're going to see a lot of talent. I'm doing that one. I'm opening 3 in Mexico. I'm going to do 1 in Puerto Rico. And then I'm looking at other territories to open Performance Institutes in. When you guys see what we do in the next 5-6 years, and I say this to you guys, for those of you that have been around for a long time, I feel like every year we take the sport to another level. and we've done impressive things in the last 18 years. I'm going to blow you away with what we do in the next 7. We're literally going to change the entire game, man. I've been working for the last year on a lot of fun shit. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to announce some of the things that we're working on. And it's big, it's fun, it's game-changing, and I'm looking forward to it. Good stuff.
Finally, can you give us those numbers again? You came in kind of quick.
Yes, ma'am. The attendance was 14,790. The gate was 4.035 million. Performance of the night was Diego Sanchez and Johnny Walker, and the fight of the night was Garbrandt versus Munoz. All those guys won $50,000. You guys good? No? Yeah, go ahead. Let's get him a mic. Oh, spilt Kevin's Diet Coke.
Thanks, Dana. Just wondering if you have had any rough idea of what you wanted to do next with Tyron Woodley?
I don't know. I think Woodley needs to go, take some time off, spend some time with his family, and he'll call me and we'll figure out what's next for him. It's tough to talk out. I mean, especially after a loss like that, what's next for him? The question is, what does he want to do? Tyron Woodley's made a lot of money. He's done well. So, who knows? Who knows where his head's at and what he's thinking? Thanks, man. Good night, you guys. Have a great weekend.
John,
what's up, guys?
Congratulations on your victory. No, you didn't get the finish that you probably would have wanted, but still, overall, I know it's still fresh and you haven't watched it yet, but how do you feel about your performance tonight?
I feel good. I definitely would have liked to finish the fight. I definitely felt as if I slowed down in the 5th round, which is something that's uncommon for me. But I do feel good. Anthony Smith was the most experienced person I've ever been in there against, with 70 fights under his belt. And he showed that experience. He was extremely durable. He was extremely calm. I put him in a lot of positions where I felt most people would have freaked out. And he kept his composure. He did a really great job.
A little bit of an odd sequence, of course, with the point deduction. I mean, you had the illegal knee. It looked like maybe there was an illegal kick before that as well. I don't know if that landed or not, but give me an idea kind of what was going through your head as those sequences unfolded, and were you worried? Because we were told that because the foul was ruled intentional, if Anthony couldn't have continued, you would have been disqualified.
Yeah, that was. The first kick, I definitely aimed for his body, and that's where it landed. The illegal knee was totally unintentional. In the moment, I felt his body language rising. I felt his body, rising. And I thought I was getting ready to time a great headshot right after he got off of his palm. To my understanding, on his fingertips, he's considered standing. And, his body came up. I threw the kick, and I guess his palm was still down. And totally unintentional. Hats off to Anthony Smith for having a lion heart. I mean, I think the average person would have used that as a way out and became a world champion. He was tired. He had been hit with the kitchen sink, and I mean, I did an illegal blow, and he decided to allow the fight to continue, and I'm so proud of him for just being a real warrior out there and continuing to fight.
I know you want to enjoy it tonight and spend time with your team, but Dana was here earlier and he said Thiago Santos looks like the right fight for you next. Give us your take on that. Do you believe that's the right fight for you?
You know, I'm going to talk with my coaches and see what they want me to do. You know, so there's a lot of great fighters in the UFC. Everyone's looking so impressive, and whoever it may be, I'm here to defeat them all.
And last thing for me, John, I know you said you want to fight frequently, but you always have to check your feet afterwards, see your health. You were throwing a lot of kicks out there, so give us the health update. I know, you're probably going to take some time and figure it out, but as you sit here now, when ideally would you fight again?
Again, I think I'm going to have to just go back to the gym, go back with my coaches. You know, if you guys can't tell, I'm really big on my family. You know, my family and my coaches, and we are a unit. You know, I'm a product of these guys, so I need to talk to the team and see what we're gonna do. You know, I need to evaluate my body and see what we're gonna do. I can't be making decisions by myself. This is a family thing. Come on, man. Come on, John Morgan.
Congratulations, John. Why did you go away from the kicks in the last 2 rounds? Like early on, you were using that spinning back kick, and you used a lot of that stuff, and then it seemed like you were using your hands more, or even trying to go for takedowns as the fight went on. What was the change in strategy?
You know, I've been doing a lot of boxing. I've been working on my hands extensively, my defense and my offense, and I wanted to open up that category in my game when I felt comfortable doing it, and I felt like towards the later rounds I really got a beat on Anthony and what he was capable of, how fast he was, his level of punching power, and I just felt more comfortable exchanging in the later rounds with my hands. You know, when you throw punches, you're a little bit more vulnerable to get hit back, where with kicks, you know, you're pretty much at a safe distance. And when I felt less vulnerable, I opened up the hands.
Did you feel like in the early part of the fight you were hurting him to the body, where you slowed him down a little bit? It seemed like some of those kicks really had an impact on him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think the very first spinning back kick, it had to have taken something out of him. You know, I saw a huge welt across his torso and a little bit of a bruise under his nipple. And, yeah, that was from that first kick. I know that had to have done something.
How would you assess, this is the first time you fought so frequently in quite a long time. How would you assess, what was that like for you now that you fought, now you go through another camp and fight again? What was that experience like?
It was great, It was a lot of fun. I felt really familiar tonight at work. A little bit too familiar, actually. Like in my warm-up, there was no nervousness. And that was making me uncomfortable. You know, the fact that there was no nervousness, I was almost questioning myself. Am I ready? Am I taking this seriously enough? And I know that I have done everything in my power to be prepared for this, but, I think a little bit of nerves are actually a good thing. And tonight I just felt so doggone comfortable in there. But, I feel like that's God's grace too, He blesses me to have a sound mind. And so I can't ask for it and then be confused when my mind is sound and at peace with what I'm doing.
Last question for me. When you talk about the nerves and all the stuff going on, it seems like heavyweight would do that. And I was asking Dana about you fighting Brock, right? And I mean, I remember at UFC 214, you seemed pretty motivated by that fight. Dana did say he's going to give that fight to Daniel, but is Brock still a guy that, you seem hesitant to fight at heavyweight, but not Brock? And why would you want to fight this big lug if you don't want to fight the other guys?
Well, I figure if I'm going to make the gamble, you might as well go extremely big, right? Go big or go home. And a Brock Lesnar fight, I mean, extremely high risk and extremely high reward. I don't really see myself versus anyone that could bring in the numbers me and Brock could bring in.
Hi, John.
Hey, what's up, Matt Ryan?
I have a question for you. When Anthony was in here after the fight, he said he didn't fight me, he nullified me. And then Dana said John fights, he fights to the level of his opponent. Would you reflect on that a little bit? Because it does seem like you didn't want to waste too much energy, and you you prepare for your fighter, the person you're going to fight, and you do what you have to do.
Yeah, I feel like in the last round, yeah, I definitely could have done more. I'm not really proud of my 5th round, holding him against the cage like that. But at the same time, there's a beloved Randy Couture who made a whole career out of the way I fought in the last round, holding people against the cage and just chipping away at them. I totally fought Anthony. If you look at the stats will show that I totally fought Anthony. And I feel like it was his job to get off the cage. It was his job to make it a fight. He was the one losing. Anthony's very durable, and he's known to come back and win, even in the worst situations. You can beat the crap out of him for 3 rounds, and at the very end of the 3rd round, he can knock you out. He's known for that. So in a world championship fight, if he's going to allow me to hold him against the cage, I'm going to do that. At the end of the day, it's about impressing the fans and being entertaining. And I have a lot of pride in being that. But I feel like rounds 1 through 4 was what the fans wanted to see. And the 5th round was for me in my camp, just to take home that new belt.
John, what was it like for you? I mean, you've been through everything you've been through over the last few years, and yet you go into this moment in the 4th round where you're waiting on your fate to be determined once more by Herb Dean. What were those seconds like for you?
It was nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking, really. I just started to pray. I was just hoping that it wouldn't go down like that. I had flashbacks of the Matt Hamill fight, and I was just thinking, oh my goodness, please tell me this isn't going down like this. And I was just looking at Anthony, and I felt like we locked eyes at a moment, and I kind of gave him one of these, like, yeah, you're all right. Like, get your ass up. And sure enough, he showed the heart of a lion. Hats off to Anthony, man. He could have done it the easy way, and took that option out. But instead, he stayed in there, and I owe him a beer. At least a beer.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to ask you is that, like Dana's talked about Thiago Santos being next for you, and I think like the reaction's like, how do you view it? I mean, I know you want to stay in this light heavyweight division, but where you are in your career, isn't there some thought to taking on the most high dollar fights that you can take on as well?
I think all these younger fighters should get their opportunity at a world title. When you sit in my position, it's like, who am I to deny people? But I'm not going to really talk ahead too much. I'm going to get with my coaches, and we are a close, tight-knit family, and this career is not mine; it's all of ours. And we're going to talk about who we want to fight next, what we want to do next, and just play it like that.
Hey, John, in front over here to your right.
What's up, man?
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about the knee again, going back to what you said earlier about the rule, whether it's the palm or the hand. What's interesting is that if you had done that in California, that would have been completely legal. It would have been an illegal knee. It's illegal in Nevada because of just the different rules about which hands is which. Is that confusing for fighters? I mean, it's like, if that was in California, again, that would have been a legal knee, but here, it's not.
It is confusing. It's a little confusing, but I'm not going to blame the rules or whatnot. I just need to be better. I need to be a professional and know where I'm fighting. If I'm in Nevada, I guess the difference from here to here is it can change a career. It could change what your record is, So I made a mistake. It was an honest mistake. I'm sure because it's me, fans are going to be like, this dude fucking cheated. He's such a cheater. Poking people in the eyes, and now he's kneeing people in the head. I just got to learn to, take it and keep on ticking.
I'm curious, what was, I don't know if you watched that earlier in the fight, Johnny Walker, light heavyweight in your division, had another impressive knockout. What are your thoughts on him? It's like, is he like the next coming of a John Jones type guy?
And I think there will only be one John Jones. But I didn't see the fights. I did get to see Tyrone Woodley's fight, but I didn't get to see any of the earlier fights. And I'm excited about the future of the light heavyweight division. I really feel like God anointed me to be a fighter, and I'm going to have to take on every comer. And the confidence that I had as a 23-year-old facing Shogun Rua has only grown. I believe in myself tremendously, and And no one said my job was meant to be easy, but I felt like I'll always make a way to make it happen.
And the last thing for me, what is an whoopsie-doo fighter?
Oh, a look-see-do fighter.
Fighter. That's what Bruce
A
Buffer
looks-
announced, right?
Yeah, you know what? I actually got that from my original fight team. I won't give them a shout out because I think they're assholes, but.
You always use that though, or is that new?
No, my original manager came up with it because of what I was doing. I kind of learned how to fight on YouTube, and so I would watch things on YouTube, and I would do it. So we just call it like look, see, do. I look at it, I would see it, and then I would do it, and so that's what just happened.
Is there any reason why you went back to that now?
I think they've been saying that the whole time.
They've always said it. Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason I never. All right.
Yeah.
Congratulations, John, right here.
Thank you.
So wanted to know, because you did mention a few minutes ago that the 5th round you felt yourself slowing down. From my estimation, it looked like you were throwing a lot harder than you normally do earlier in the fight. Do you think that was a contributing factor, just trying to put more power behind your punches?
No, I think that's a testament to my striking coaches. You know, especially Coach Wink. He really tries to encourage me to use power. You know, I'm a guy who tries to go 80% at all times, just so that I can be in it for the long haul. You know, I believe guys who swing with a 100% power, you know, you just pay when you miss. So I like to be, you know, I'm always preserving a little energy in everything I do. And in the 5th round, man, like I said, you know, I feel like the first 4 rounds is what the fans really wanted to see. And the 5th round was really just for me and my family, you know, just to secure the belt. Sometimes you got to do things for the bigger picture. And that was just secure the win. It was up to Anthony to get himself off the cage and to make it a fight again. But if he's going to allow me to be there, then the smart thing to do, even though it's not entertaining, just hold him there.
Getting back to Johnny Walker, your picture with him at Fight Week kind of made everybody a little excited that checked it out on Twitter. So when you took that picture, were you sizing him up?
No. Just, you know, I try to introduce myself to everyone. I feel like giving guys mean mugs and all this type of stuff is showing them too much respect. At the end of the day, I feel like this is my time, this is my era, and I was meant to be here and be a great, great champion. This belt here is supposed to be covered in red rubies already, and I got a new challenge, and that's to get this thing covered in red rubies. And that means I'm gonna have to beat a lot of ass, and I am up for the challenge. So yeah. What's up, my man?
I think most fighters, to receive a 2-point deduction, especially in the 4th round, to receive a 2-point deduction, especially in the 4th round of a championship fight, would freak them out. How did you feel when it was just a?
The 2-point deduction or whatever, it was a little nerve-wracking, but I felt like the fight was in control. I knew, despite the point reduction, the only way he could win the fight at that point was to somehow get a knockout, and I was pretty aware of that. And I just kept praying in between the rounds, and every moment I had a break to talk to God, I just continued to talk to him, and I knew that everything was gonna be all right. All right, I was gonna say, you guys slowing down on questions. I got an after party to go to. I sure will get out of here.
All right, I don't want to keep you too long. You know, among all your attributes that we talk about so much, I think one thing that doesn't get talked about enough is your composure. That's one of the things that sets you apart and makes you one of the greatest, if not the greatest.
Thank you.
How do you do it?
Composure. I don't know, man. I don't know. Honestly.
Are you into visualization, meditation?
Visualization, yeah. I visualize a lot. I meditate a lot. I just know, you know, I ask myself in times of like trouble, it's like, John, do you want to make your situation worse or do you want to make it better? And I like to make things better when I'm in shitty situations. And I know the best thing I can do in the moment is just try to relax, stay calm, focus on what I can't control. And that's breathing, staying positive in the mind, and letting it happen.
I heard you say after the fight you were a little disappointed with your performance. It was a fantastic performance as far as I could tell. Is it because you didn't get the finish? Is that why you felt upset?
Yeah, I felt like I had Anthony on a breaking point, and tonight I didn't have that extra to put him out, and I think maybe that could be maybe I let myself down in the endurance. So what I will do is work a lot harder for my next fight, and that's all I can do.
Well, because in the third and fourth round, there were some moments where I really thought, you're about to finish this right now.
Yeah.
And is that what you're talking about when you said, because he's extremely durable? And
He's extremely durable, yeah. There was moments like when he was sitting on his butt and I had him against the cage, I was throwing lighter punches, and there was moments where I had him in the front headlock position and I had his back, and my punches weren't effective enough, and I think that was strictly related to cardio. If I had a stronger gas tank tonight, my punches would have been harder, longer, and so I'll work on that.
And my last question is, you said that you enjoyed actually having an opponent where there's not this rivalry and all this trash talking going on. It kind of seems like all the up-and-comers that are in your division that are gunning for you, it's kind of the same way. There's not really any more bad blood. It's all younger guys that are up and coming. So
Yeah.
you look forward to that road?
I'm sure there'll be more bad blood. I'm sure there'll be more bad blood. As of right now, there's no immediate opponent, and there's no real storylines going on. But I'm sure once a fight gets announced, things will spice up nicely.
Well, I saw you photographed with one of your old rivals in Rashad Evans.
Yeah, that was great.
So has that?
Rashad's the man, dude.
You mended fences there with him?
Yeah. Obviously the relationship will never quite be the same, but I respect him so much. What he's done in the sport, he was one of the original guys I looked up to, and I just think he deserves respect. He's a classy guy. He's carried the sport very well, and he has my respect, despite our history.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, guys, it's been awesome. I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Thank you to all the fans who watched. Love you guys. Thank you to all my haters for inspiring the shit out of me. And feel free to make it to my after party. Information is on my Instagram page at Johnny Bones. Deuces.
Damn, I was too zoomed in for it. I had to get out. Yeah, right. One time got the greatest cue. Still up time. Yeah, 1:30 on the 10. 1:30.
Team Jones, you guys come to switch
I mean, there's so many. Do you want me to get some? So not really. So there's really no point. But it really probably wouldn't do it. For me to start from scratch probably wouldn't be any faster.